So, you know why the 99 get controlled by the 1%? Is it freedom or free being? Yo, y'all know what it is. It's your host, Relly North. I want to welcome you to the Make America Great podcast. Before we get started, I got two things for y'all. Debate is the devil, and I am your future president. First things first, I want to send condolences to the families of everybody that's involved. This is not to highlight a man's mistakes or make him a martyr for what he did in the streets. This is just to highlight that we have 3 deceased black men, and we have a host of children. Everyone had children and family that's going to be forever affected by this. And the bigger picture in the message of the Make America Great podcast is that our society is at a standstill because the same exact things that we're always attempting to be held accountable for as black men, our justice system, our leaders, our police officers, our judges, everyone that's a government official is no different from us. I ain't gonna be long-winded. I almost said too much. Y'all like, share, subscribe. We're gonna get where I'm going eventually. You dig? Y'all let me know how y'all feel.
Yes, it's very frustrating that we didn't find him initially as close to the original crime scene as he was. However, the brush and the undergrowth where he was discovered, you literally had to crawl and move it to find the body.
All Prophet, or APK3, born Kameron Jenkins on May 14, 1998, to Stacy Jenkins, made his mark on the streets of Oklahoma and all throughout the South. K3 unfortunately lost his life on the alleged day of October 10th, 2023, at the age of 25 due to an alleged police shootout. This is the crazy story of the man who held Oklahoma hostage for 6 days.
Starts now with breaking news.
We are following breaking news out of Garvin County. A suspect search underway south of Wynnewood after a Cleveland County deputy was shot and another person killed. Right now,
the story begins like this. Though there is little information to find for K3's upbringing or actual juvenile trouble, we were able to gather some juvenile information as to how we may have gotten to this point. While there is some gang affiliation our researchers have found, we won't disclose that information. However, while attending Rogers Middle School,
he was arrested in 2012 for shooting at an Oklahoma City police officer when he was just 14.
It's alleged that after an altercation with an opposition and K3 becoming uncontrollable even by the school authority, the police would have to intervene. At this point, it's alleged K3 brandished a firearm, firing at the officer, but missing. Luckily for both parties to walk away with their lives, and this just happening all at the tender age of 14 in the year 2012. It is not known if K3 had to spend time in juvenile detention for this act or not. However, 4 years later, in the year 2016, as an 18-year-old, he had his first serious run-in as an adult in the state of Oklahoma with law enforcement when he was charged with maiming, assault and battery with a deadly weapon, and also a convicted felon in possession of a firearm, leading us to believe the shooting as a juvenile stuck and he was charged as an adult.
25-year-old Jenkins has a criminal history dating back to 2012 when he was arrested because investigators say he shot at an OKC police officer. He was then arrested several more times for assault and battery and other charges according to records.
These charges in 2016 led to an eventual 10-year sentence with all but 3 suspended. After release, sometime in early 2019, and falling deep into the pimp game, K3 is known to have been spotted in multiple towns across the state of Oklahoma, making profit off his newfound business venture. This success would be short-lived though, as a few months into his release, he had another run-in with the law in the summer of 2019, once more for pimping and being the felon with the firearm. Oklahoma would be sure not to let him slip through the cracks again. K3 was sentenced to complete a 10-year sentence with no release date in sight, until a glitch in the system giving him freedom after good behavior and a release 4 years into his 10-year sentence. This will mark the second 10-year sentence he managed to avoid completing the entirety of. K3 was released in March of 2023 after his second 10-year sentence, and back to the bag he went. As the saying goes, 3rd time's a charm, or 3 strikes and you're out. The last 7 months of K3's life seemed to be everything of an active gangster's vision of how to thug, while simultaneously proving those statements to be true. As we know, the streets and the courts have different viewpoints of how situations go, so I advise take the alleged court accusations with a grain of salt.
Ashley Gilbert was arrested earlier this week and booked into jail on a first-degree murder complaint. It's all in relation to a homicide that happened in May in southwest Oklahoma City.
According to an affidavit, Gilbert dropped her child off so she could go work as a prostitute on May 7th. Court documents then say she was with her pimp, identified as
Shooting left one person dead and a second victim not willing to say who shot him.
Our KOCO's Evan Onstad has been looking into this. Evan, we know both of these victims were taken to the hospital.
Right, and sadly, one of those victims, 26-year-old Tommy Lewis, passed away at the hospital there. Police really having a hard time so far figuring out who shot him and why. The shooting took place in the middle of the night, about 3 a.m. Sunday morning at an apartment complex in southwest Oklahoma City. When officers got there, police say they found one man, Tommy Lewis, critically wounded. But when they were at the hospital, we're told a second victim, a 21-year-old, showed up with wounds that were not life-threatening. But this person, we're told, was not wanting to talk.
The courts believe on May 8th, 2023, in the early morning hours, Ashley Gilbert, a prostitute under the tutelage of K3, reached out to him to help with the disturbance involving her child and who would soon become the victims on this horrible night. Researchers couldn't find a connection between the two parties as to why Ashley Gilbert's child would be with the victim, nor do we feel comfortable reaching out to any victim's family, as all of this is still so fresh and still so traumatizing. However, it is stated that Gilbert contacted Jenkins for help with this situation. At this point, K3 Jenkins explained he was en route, but it was going to get ugly, so put the baby up, before allegedly arriving at the location in southwest Oklahoma City and firing shots at Tommy Lewis and his brother, killing Tommy as the hail of bullets rained in and injuring his brother in the process. From here, Oklahoma court records allege Ashley Gilbert and K3 went on the run. While she explained to family and friends through text, she was on the run for being accessory to an M.
In May, witnesses told police Gilbert came back and was seen arguing with Tommy Lewis, who was later shot and killed.
After a brief stint on the run, Jenkins and Gilbert would be arrested in Texas 2 weeks later for prostitution on May 23rd. It's alleged that Gilbert offered $300 to an undercover for escort services.
Kameron Lewis Jenkins was in and out of DOC custody since at least 2012, most recently facing charges in Oklahoma County. But Jenkins bonded out in May for just $1,000.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he spends the rest of his life in jail.
Fearing his probation would be violated, his cash bond went from $250,000 to a mere $1,000, allowing K3 Jenkins to be bonded out. And this is all due to a 5-year extradition rule. Because he was not formally charged, once the extradition time period exceeded, if no one had come to got him, he must be released.
Well, Lisa, I mean, boy, this is just really hard to piece together here because there's so many law enforcement agencies that are involved in this. So you're looking at I-35 and Highway 29 intersection right there. We have officers right there sitting on the side of the road on the east side of I-35 at that truck. That's basically a truck repair center, and they sell used semis there. They've got a bunch of officers there. We have a bunch of OHP officers running northbound on I-35 as fast as they can. So we're not sure what's happening up north of I-35. You're looking there, right there. They were going northbound at a high rate of speed. Then we have these officers that I showed you there. We have officers back at 29 and 77. We have officers in Wynnewood. We have officers on the south side of Wynnewood, have 77 shut down at 17A, and they're searching vehicles 2 miles south of 17A. They're on 77. That's shut down where they're checking vehicles. So they are all over the place here, Lisa, and we're just...
The fateful day of October 4th, 2023, in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, familiar to many and home of the hit Netflix show The Tiger King. According to reports, Sean Stedman, who works in the Drug and Violent Crime Department of the Cleveland County, allegedly was attempting to pull K3 Jenkins over. K3 Jenkins refused to stop. This prompted the officer to perform the tactical spin-out move, to which K3 allegedly responded by shooting him in the chin and shoulder. Though the departments consistently release body cam footage to prove innocence, we must add no body cam footage from any officer has been released involving this situation.
Jenkins. Investigators say Cleveland County Deputy Sean Stedman was trying to pull over Jenkins on I-35 near Wynnewood last Wednesday. Stedman tactically rammed Jenkins' car when he wouldn't pull over. Investigators say Jenkins shot Stedman and a stray bullet killed Gwan Frierson, who was in a truck nearby. OSBI investigators...
Frierson had just gotten that job. News 4's Taylor Mitchell talked to a close family friend. That's new at 6.
It's devastating. He took care of my girls. We were his family.
Betty Holland says Gwan Frierson had just gotten his CDL license and had just started working for a truck driving company in Oklahoma. But tragically, while on the job this week, he ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time.
In the midst of shooting Officer Stedman, they are alleging that K3 Jenkins also killed innocent bystander Gwan Frierson. But there is absolutely no evidence proving such. As a news clip states, they're trying to figure out whose bullet struck Gwan Frierson, who just received his CDL and was a city truck worker who was just doing his job and struck by a stray bullet that took his life in the process. K3 Jenkins got away. At this point, we would like to send our deepest condolences to Gwan Frierson and his family, and we would also like to send our deepest condolences to Tommy Lewis and his family. K3's escape from near death in jail seemed like just another day in the life of a man who understood what he signed up for. But is that really true? Are we ever truly prepared for the things that we sign up for? Or do we just take the punches as they come, go with the flow?
Crime Stoppers reward for the capture of 25-year-old Kameron Jenkins is now up to $11,000. And I'm told law enforcement is following every lead that comes in from noon. Garvin County Sheriff, OSBI, and canines went back to the spot on Roop Road where Jenkins and the Cleveland County deputy exchanged gunfire. They were searching for any new evidence that might have been left behind by Jenkins. He fled the scene on foot and was briefly spotted in Wynnewood Wednesday afternoon. Authorities are not sure if Jenkins is still on foot, if he's been picked up by someone or stole a vehicle.
Authorities in Oklahoma as well as across the country began a manhunt lasting 6 days. A manhunt which began spanning across the entire town of Wynnewood before making it a statewide, then eventually every bordering state in conjunction.
Hundreds of law enforcement officers are following leads to locate Kameron Jenkins. It's been around 30 hours since the search first began.
Forces were combined from everywhere as SWAT, FBI, all Oklahoma counties, and more stretched this manhunt as far below as the Texas-Mexico border and equal distance east, west, and north. Raiding homes that completely exercising martial law to get the results.
Locals in Wynnewood were hoping the suspect would be found quickly. There was like a bunch of people out there, guns were out, it was crazy. Dominique Perry lives just a few doors down from a house police went into Wednesday searching for Jenkins. She says she never expected to witness a manhunt in her own backyard.
I would never have thought anything like that. I don't ever see any transients or anything, hardly ever.
Perry says seeing law enforcement work together gives her a peace of mind.
Cameron Jenkins has been on the run now for more than 30
Getting
hours.
new information on the search for a shooting suspect. Cameron Jenkins has been on the run now for more than 48 hours.
Game wardens searching by boat in the nearby Washita River. We talked to investigators with OSBI yesterday. They say they continue to get tips and they're following up on each one. They tell us the search area is expanding beyond just Garvin County.
He's on the run, but investigators say they're still on the case. The manhunt for 25-year-old Kameron Jenkins is nearing a week long.
He needs to turn himself in. It's going to be better for him if he does that.
That's Garvin County Sheriff Jim Mullet. On Monday, the sheriff's office says they, along with U.S. Marshals and the OSBI, continue to follow up on leads and reported sightings. The search area now includes all of Garvin County.
Only to find Jenkins 6 days later, October 10th, 2023, 400 yards away from the original crime scene and deceased.
Yeah, Colby, OHP said they decided to do one last search around the area of that shooting scene yesterday, and it resulted in them finding a body that they say matches the description of the suspect, 25-year-old Kameron Jenkins.
It is alleged that the same dogs used to originally search for K3 in the area 6 days prior found him in an area where the dogs and officers just so happened to overlook, though there were hundreds of them. The fishy sequence of the events pertaining to his death has taken a life of its own as the streets have begun to talk. There is a rumor spreading stating that when found, K3 had a firearm in each hand. Also, there is a picture going around from someone who wished to remain anonymous that was on the crime scene, where he appears to be healthy and standing. Conclusion: I'm not here to make excuses for either side, seeing as how everyone can sometimes play a part in the escalating horrors of our society. But what I'm saying is that despite his background, despite what he may have done, allegedly, he still deserved his day in court to fight for his freedom and his life. I'm saying that no matter what his faults are, he is still human, who can be subjected and enticed by evil and violence, just as any one of us can. I'm saying his acts of violence and what he was attempted to be held accountable for is no different than whatever was done to him 6 days prior, and in those 6 days, for them to walk right past him.
After he allegedly shot a Cleveland County deputy on I-35 near Davis on Wednesday, and a passing motorist was killed in the exchange of gunfire. The hunt for him ongoing there. More than 100 law enforcement officers converged on the area yesterday, searching backyards and rivers, but no sign of him. Just a couple hours ago, the U.S. Marshals updated us on the search.
They're following all kinds of leads where there have been sightings, so I'm not prepared to say where I believe he is right now.
I'm saying understand your purpose and fulfill it. We're still truly slaves, just not by force. We're allowed to choose it for ourselves. So now you think life. I want to send a special shout out and condolence to the families of Gwan Frierson, who's been a mere footnote in this entire fiasco. I want to give a shout out and special condolences to Tommy Lewis and his family. No one ever deserves to lose their life. I also want to give a shout out and send condolences to Cameron Jenkins and his family. I saw a post from K3's mother of his children where she talked about how great of a dad he was. And that's why I don't believe that we truly are accepting of the fate we choose, because we genuinely love from a righteous place, somebody or something. I pray we realize that before more of us have to die. Understand you can fight the right war with the same ruthlessness. Understand if you murder unrighteously, you will pay with your life. And understand if you murder righteously, you still gotta pay in the eyes of God. So understand what your purpose is. This documentary is not to highlight violence. It's not to highlight this man's mistakes. But it is to show what our police officers are capable of. It is to show what our government is capable of. And the same thing that you want to do to each other, The same thing that K3 allegedly did to Tommy Lewis and his brother. The same thing that happened to a lot of people. Our government and the people that's here to protect us are no different from what this man is. They're no different from what he did. So understand that before you give them your life. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Since 2202, my heart been so long. Long legs, stilettos, now she's so gone. Yeah, getting resolution from a photo. Need the stress relief, put your face at low blow. Yeah. Paw.